Hi, this is Leila. Today I want to talk to you about something that I found somewhere else. I am an avid listener of Multiamory, which is a podcast all about various kinds of relationship maintenance stuff. It's really helpful to be geek about relationships if you're super poly. But there was an episode that I listened to yesterday that is I'm scrolling for it now because it just went blank on my screen. Episode 511, and it's protecting your relationship from the news. And I thought this was great because it echoes so much of what I've been thinking lately about positivity and negativity. And at the core, it pointed out this psychological concept that is kind of feeding on into this economic concept that is really just driving this cycle that's really kind of concerning to me. And that is about all the negativity out there. So the psychological concept is that if the headline is scary and more personal, that we're more likely to pay more attention to it. So how that works out is that if a headline has more scary words in it, we're more likely to click on it. Which means that we are then telling the businesses that are selling us this information that's what gets our attention, and so then they post more of the negative stuff. And so what you end up with is, I guess, over the last couple of decades, increasingly negative headlines, and then the positive stories not getting reported on. Like the example they brought up in this episode was about a new drug for AIDS that's an injection that could reduce your risk of transmitting it to zero, and could potentially be like an AIDS vaccine. But that didn't make nearly as many headlines because it wasn't a positive story. So this leaves us all with this impression that the world is worse than it is. And it's tough because there are a lot of bad things going on right now. I know I really, really hate having a rapist president and all those things, but, my personal feelings aside, I know that other folks who are on the other side are feeling all sorts of fear around a lot of things that I am, which is part of why I'm doing these videos. Because I really think that ultimately we're more afraid of each other than we need to be. And what I thought was interesting about this Multiamory episode is that what they're saying is that this may not be something that folks are intentionally doing to make us more divisive. This could really just be the effect of basically unchecked, human natural impulse meeting corporate, investor driven, initiatives. And with nobody looking at this to actively try to counter it, it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. So in this episode, they do actually point out some of the folks who are actually working on actively countering this and how you might make some practical steps to improve it in your life. And they also point out that the more you're in kind of a negative headspace and feeling attacked and feeling personally attacked, the more that can have a negative impact on your relationships, and being mindful of that is good. But to me, that's all really secondary to just being aware that the world is getting better, that life is getting better, that the freedoms we have now are freedoms that our mothers and grandmothers and great grandmothers never dreamed of, and that we really, it's good to feel good things, and that our daily lives are not actually more scary than the lives of our predecessors. Even if the headlines are. And along with that, also, people who think and feel differently from us about very important personal topics, that's always been a thing. And most people who, are clicking on those headlines that are scary about whatever it is you are, don't actually hate you and would not actually hurt anybody. Most people are fundamentally good people, and most people are people who really don't want to be hurtful towards other people. Not everybody. There are horrible people out there. I have no monsters, but it's good to remember, I think, that this the world's going to hell kind of feeling that we get sometimes from being checked into the news cycle and things like that. It's really an exaggeration and only one half of the story. So I'll just leave you with that thought that maybe when you see something negative, keep in mind that there are also a lot of positive news stories out there that just aren't getting as much attention, and maybe take a moment and seek some of those out. So anyway, thanks and have a great day.